My name is Karen Schoenbart. I'm the CEO of the NPD Group. And I've convened a group of women executives who've been meeting about once a month, chatting about various things, and especially sharing how we're surviving during the pandemic. And our last meeting was about women supporting women, and we were just brainstorming ideas. And Lauren Hobart, the CEO of Dick's Sporting Goods, mentioned that within her organization, there was this really cool group called the Mom Squad. And many of the participants said, oh, tell us more, tell us more. And everybody was reaching out to Lauren to get more information about the Mom Squad. And so instead of having this done over and over again, we invited Melissa Christian and her team to come, and they generously offered to present a little bit about the program that they launched. And they'll do that for maybe about 15 minutes, and then we'll just open it up for Q&A. Maybe this is something you might want to do in your company. Maybe it's something your company has. You can share what's worked, what's not worked, so we can all help each other. And, you know, and particularly during these crazy times, help parents with children, which has been especially challenging. And so Melissa, Diane, is there anything that I forgot that I should add?
No, the only thing I just want to make sure we have some background people on. I just want to make sure, I just got to know, great, that they have started the recording. Okay, we're all good.
So we'll be recording this and we'll have it available for people who haven't had a chance to see it, who might want to see it again. And I'll send out a link to that to the women from the Conversation and Cocktails group, and they can get you access to the link so that this can help even more people. So with that, I'll turn it over, Melissa. Maybe you can introduce, if you've got anyone with you from your team, tell us a little bit about the Mom Squad, and then we'll open up to questions. And I'll just share, I am a mother. I'm not going to embarrass her, but my daughter is on the line, and she just had her own baby 3 months ago. So not only my mother, I'm a grandmother.
Congratulations, very exciting. Well, yes, thank you. Thank you for having us. I was so excited when I heard Lauren was plugging Mom Squad. She has been a champion of ours from the very, very beginning. So it's just so exciting to see it really come full circle. I work, my day job is on the marketing team at Dick's Sporting Goods. So I oversee marketing for our brand as a whole, but then also our apparel and footwear businesses as categories. And I've been with the company about 7 years and am a mom to a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old, almost 9 months now. So a very fun time. And I was one of our 2 co-founders who started Mom Squad, largely based on the experience I had planning for my first maternity leave. And I had a really tough time adjusting back to work when I came back. So that was where this all was born. And we brought in a group of women, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, to help us, one of whom is now the co-chair of Mom Squad, or she's just, her tenure is just ending, but she's co-chair. She's on the line with us, Paloma Denardis, and I'll let Paloma introduce herself.
Hey everyone, thanks Melissa. My name is Paloma Denardis, and as Melissa said, my day job is leading diversity, equity, and inclusion for Dick's Sporting Goods. But my passion is making great friendships and with the women in Mom Squad. And as Melissa mentioned, I was privileged to serve as co-chair with Melissa for a little more than a year, I guess, and just recently have handed my chair over to another woman so that I can go and pursue other things. But that's the beauty of Mom Squad. So I said that I promoted myself to member, and we'll talk a little bit about what membership means. But it's been a really phenomenal experience. So we're excited to share with you.
We have a few slides that we presented that I think goes through sort of our origination journey and what we've done to support our community and sort of where we're going. So Paloma and I will tag team presenting that, if it's okay if I share my screen. So when we started Mom Squad, I would say, you know, I mentioned in part it was based on my experience, and obviously it's hard to start something from an experience of one. And I was talking to another recent mom at Dick's Sporting Goods, and many of the hiccups I experienced, she had also experienced. So we got a group of women together, and one, to validate what are the issues that new moms have as they're navigating motherhood here at Dick's Sporting Goods? And we really found that there were three main opportunities we had to improve on. One was just planning maternity leave and then reintegrating back to work. You know, especially if it's your first time through, it's all overwhelming. There's so much new happening in your life. Just having a little bit of extra support that honestly, our benefits team isn't staffed or structured to be able to hold the hands that new moms maybe would like to be held through that process. And we thought we have so many women who've been there and done that in our company. How can we leverage that a bit more to make this a better experience for everyone? And then similar to that, there were so many people here at our company. You know, our corporate office is probably about 2,500 people strong. And there's just a hive mind here, right, of experiences and thinking about best pediatricians in the area, or, you know, how to find a good babysitter. So how do we create a space for them to be able to connect and share this side of their life with each other? And then we also knew that if we were able to do some of these things, we would create greater satisfaction and loyalty with Dick's Sporting Goods, which we were really excited about. So it really boiled down to creating a system of personal support, and that was really important to us. We wanted Mom Squad to feel very personal and have one-on-one interactions and be a space where, you know, being a parent is incredibly personal. The relationship you have with your child is really intimate, and wanting to open up and share that with other people, you really need to create a safe space, and making sure it feels very human is really, really important. And that's something that we keep very top of mind whenever we think about what we're doing as an organization. And, you know, we're doing this, yes, so people can thrive at work, but also we want you to thrive at home. So you'll see a lot of the programming, and I'll say the things that have been most well received in terms of activities that Mom Squad has posted has nothing to do with work and balancing work and life. And it's very much about just being a resource for people to think about how they're a parent and how they're engaging with their children. So when we launched, there were really three, sorry, Paloma, could you go back really quickly? As we thought about those opportunities, we had three main goals that we wanted to do. One was to make sure every mom felt personally prepared. We wanted to create a community of moms and allies. And then we wanted to be a representative voice to the organization for the interest of parents. So we do, you know, I think our HR team has really started to lean on us too, to be that pulse on how parents are feeling in the organizations. And you'll see how that has played through in a few later slides. So if you go to the next slide, Paloma, when we launched, there were really a few key arms of what we were going to do. The first was to help with that maternity leave planning process. We created what we call our buddy program. And essentially, when someone signs up for Mom Squad, they can raise their hand and say, I'm an expecting mother, or I'm recently returned to work, and I would love to have a buddy help me through this process. And what we do is we have created, I think, a team of about 25 volunteers who are trained buddies. And we help them help new moms guide through planning for maternity leave, thinking about how you should plan for your work transition, how you navigate the benefit system here at Dick's Sporting Goods. And we're really excited about that program. But what we have found mothers care most about is having, I'll call them like a Switzerland, to help them on all of the non-work stuff too, thinking about what should I register for so that my best friend isn't upset if I ask her and then I don't put everything on my registry she told me I have to live with, you know. They really just, we were surprised that it's so much more of the outside of work stuff, that they just really value the friendship and the guidance and really the camaraderie. The second thing was we do host programs, and when we launched, we wanted to do those monthly. We'll talk about this a little bit later. That seemed actually too frequent of a frequency, but we do programming that I think Paloma and I will talk about a little bit later. And then we saw a huge opportunity, again, tapping into the hive mind of bringing together everyone's experiences to have what we call our tips and tricks. So we have created an online resource library where we have lists of tips for traveling with an infant, to tips when your partner has to travel and you're at home alone with children, to tips on how to plan meals for a busy week at work. So again, really thinking about how to help our membership thrive at work and in home through tips and tricks that we can go on paper. That way, someone may need a certain resource at a very different time than someone else. So just having it at their disposal and at their fingertips is really great. And then the last thing is, again, being that representative voice. So we have actually structured touch points that are formalized with our head of HR so that we can talk to her about what we're hearing within our community, what we're working on, but also gives her an opportunity to ask us if she needs help, guidance, or just gut checks on anything that our HR teams are thinking about. The number one question that we were faced when we launched was, is this a team only for moms? And I'll just read this because we put a lot of thought in terms of what we cared about as it relates to who we serve and why we serve them. So we created Mom Squad because we know women face unique challenges when trying to balance parenthood and their career. These range from changes to their bodies while pregnant and after delivery, to stepping out of their jobs at Dick's Sporting Goods for months at a time, to being a main source of food for those who choose for infants and postpartum mental issues. Therefore, we wanted to create Mom Squad.
Sorry.
Oh, I was like, what happened?
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Let me see. Therefore, we wanted to create an organization that's equipped to help navigate these realities. However, we care about all parents. That's why we will always make our programming and events open to anyone who's interested, whether it's a dad, an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, or just a great friend. We may even plan programming geared toward each, because we know any person who's making a difference in a little one's life deserves all the cheering and support they can get. So we work really hard to make Mom Squad a very inclusive resource group, but we were quite deliberate in making sure we retained mom in the name. And I will say that is counter to a lot of advice we got when we were creating Mom Squad. A lot of people said, to be inclusive, you should call it the parents group or family group. But, as we thought about it, and at the time it was, I guess, just a couple of us founders, we work in an industry that's sports that can be male dominated. At that time we had a lot of male leadership. We loved being very overt and signaling to women, like, this is a group that was created with you as the primary stakeholder. And we have created solutions specific to issues that we know moms are feeling, especially given that maternity leave was a crucial need that we were addressing when we first launched. But we do want this to be open to everyone. So while we sort of overcorrected on our name leaning mom, I would say how we show up in our office and in our programming, we overcorrect to be inclusive. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we give you examples of the programming that we have hosted in the past and things that we're thinking about in the future. So with that, I'll pass it over to Paloma to talk a little bit about our origins.
So yeah, as Melissa had mentioned, when Melissa and this other woman, Megan, were really thinking of this idea and wanting to solve these problems, they went out across the organization and began to thoughtfully source the women who could help really lead the group, and they formed the committee. And I didn't include in my introduction, but I am mother to twin 5-year-olds. They just turned 5 2 weeks ago. So that's where I came into the picture. I was actually at the time just beginning our DE&I work, and this was our first ever resource group in the organization. And Melissa and her partner at the time, her co-founder, broke the glass for us and really helped to charge forward. And it was amazing to see how those first few meetings with this wonderful group of women thought through the work itself. We did a couple of things really intentionally. We wanted to make sure that all of the key functions across our corporate office were represented, and also that made sure that we had different types of mothering journeys represented as well. So adoption, fostering, single parents, all the different types of ways that people become parents, IVF, all of those things were represented. And we wanted to do that intentionally to make sure that we could serve our community. So part of what we include in the survey when you sign up to become part of the Mom Squad community is a little bit about how you'd like to participate. Do you want to have a buddy, as Melissa mentioned before? Do you want to talk to somebody about an IVF journey because they went on it? Do you want to talk to somebody about the wild world of twins and what that experience looks like? Just to have a companion and a friend and someone to bounce off of. But we also do make space for not so happy topics like miscarriage and infant loss. And we create open, safe spaces for women to talk about those types of things, because at the end of the day, you're going to bring your whole self to work. You're living through those experiences in the moment, and that's part of motherhood. So it's really been rewarding to be that friend and confidant to those women who want to have that conversation and really lean into another part of your identity more than just what you do in your day job. Let's see. So then we went out to recruit for our community and build our community. And as Melissa mentioned, we did over-index in our language and in our invitation to say anyone can be part of Mom Squad. And we did some very fun marketing across the enterprise to encourage people to join. But we also did some tactical things. So we have regular town halls, or at least we did pre-pandemic. Those have come back. But we visited every single town hall across the enterprise, and we introduced who we were, we shared personal stories, and we invited people to join. And it gave us an opportunity to contextualize what Mom Squad was and to really invite people to join the community. And we've done a wonderful job of that, and our community continues to grow. And we mapped out where people are living in the city of Pittsburgh, because that's where our corporate office is situated. And when you think about pediatricians and childcare and all of those things that surround parenthood, it's helpful to know that somebody else is in your community and might be able to find a pediatric dentist that's not far from you. So that was really a great source of truth and support. And so then it came the action part. So as Melissa mentioned, as we got started, Melissa and Megan, our co-founders, really had some problems they wanted to solve. And my role at that time was HR liaison. So I really was able to lean in and help the team understand how the benefits team was operating, what were some of the barriers. But conversely, we were able to begin that open conversation between Mom Squad and specifically the HR department around some of the things that we needed to really make the experience for parents at Dick's Sporting Goods a more welcoming place. And part of what we do when we think about inclusion is create belonging. Our definition at Dick's is equal parts uniqueness and belonging. And uniqueness is what makes you unique. It's your identity and all those parts that you are, both seen and unseen and lived experiences. And belonging is feeling like you're part of something bigger than yourself or bigger than what's around you. And to create belonging in this community, we had to solve some real problems. And so we talked about maternity leave and creating more user-friendly documentation for individuals to understand the maternity leave process. We inspired some welcome baby packages for our new parents. And so anyone who took parental leave, regardless of gender, was able to enjoy this, where we were inviting that child into the Dick's Sporting Goods family, which I think really allowed us to make that team feel like they were being invested in. And it was beyond just them. It was their entire family who was being invested in. We talked about Lactation Rooms, which was a huge, very intense project that the Mom Squad led. Our Lactation Rooms prior to Mom Squad starting hadn't been really looked at for years. And they were old and they were dusty and they needed updating. But but even functionally, they weren't meeting the needs of the mothers using them. And this was an unmet need that our real estate team and construction team really weren't aware of, because they were predominantly a male team who weren't even using the room. And so they allowed us to have some ownership in them. We redesigned them, got new furniture, new flooring, and even made some really personal artwork that we were able to put in the rooms to give it a personal touch. So it felt more warm and more welcoming, but it also had a more functional need for those women, so they could really feel safe and at home in that moment if that was a room that they needed to use.
And I just want to jump in. CSC, you may see it peppered throughout. That's what we call our corporate office. So it stands for Customer Support Center, but it just means the corporate office.
Thanks, Melissa. And then the last part were mini fridges. So for those women, those new moms who were using those pumping rooms, we heard a lot of feedback around their experience because the rooms were limited and the refrigerator was in the room. You may need to get into the room to go leave for the day, and you would not be able to get in because another woman was using it, or the room would have been locked. And so there was this bottleneck of access to refrigeration. And so we got women access to mini refrigerators at their desks so they could keep that personal item close to them and have greater access to it when they needed it. But that's not all. We have helped the organization improve and deliver a lot more benefit to the organization through the voice of our teammates and the voice of the women of Mom Squad and the teammates of Mom Squad. We partnered with HR to create a new re-entry plan for moms. So giving them an additional 40 hours to flex as they are returning into work. So an additional week that they can use as they choose. They can sprinkle those hours over a 3-month period or use it all at once to allow their integration into the workforce, back into work, to be a little easier and a little bit more seamless. We've advocated for new adoption benefits, and I'm super proud to say that we have increased our adoption benefits to the IRS maximum. We went from $2,000 to $14,500 per adoption assistance. And since making that decision and helping HR advocate for that, we have had some amazing teammate stories come forward of individuals who would not have been able to bring a child into their family without that type of assistance. And it was a really amazing benefit that we were able to advocate for and bring to the organization. Most recently, we have changed our bereavement policy to include miscarriage and pregnancy loss. What we learned was that that was always intended to be true in the policy. However, it was unknown and it wasn't talked about. And so there were individuals, regardless of gender, who were experiencing this in their families and not really being given the time to grieve that loss. And so now we're able to talk about that more openly and ensure that teammates are taking the time that they need for their own personal well-being and the well-being of their entire family. Really fun thing was the buy nothing exchange. So any parent who's on this call knows that you acquire quite a bit of stuff when you become a parent, and your children grow out of those things really quickly. And so what do you do with it? The buy nothing exchange gives you a space to exchange those things to a parent who's going to use it. So it could be a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a new parent. Maybe they want an extra pack and play to be at grandma's house, or they need a new bouncer, or the stroller that you're not using anymore that you want to get rid of, that you were going to donate, but if you could give it to a friend, you would. This helps you get in contact with the friend, the person who's going to use that item that's been loved by your family, but still has more love to give. And so the buy nothing exchange gets people in contact with each other and gives them a forum to get rid of some of that extra stuff and make sure it still gets used. And lastly, especially from a pandemic perspective, we did a lot of listening and had these really fun coffee talks with our members throughout the pandemic, which helped us create that safe space to talk about what it was like to parent through the pandemic. And one of the things that we heard was this benefit of, I'm able to make make dinner for my family because I'm home, and I'm able to start dinner earlier because I'm working from home. So as we integrated back into the office, some members of our committee sponsored an on-site dining service. So you can purchase a meal for your family earlier in the week, pick it up on Thursday and take it home. So it's sort of like a meal service, but it's all catered through our in-house dining, our in-house cafeteria. And it's things that, are toddler friendly, family friendly, pasta, chicken, things like that. But it's been really well received, and it's something that's just eliminating a little bit of burden to parents' lives at our corporate office. Melissa, do you want to take this one?
Absolutely. Thank you, Paloma. So we have just a few more slides, and I'll go really quickly because I know we wanted to leave some time for Q&A. This is a list of just examples of the type of programming that we did. I'll call out a few that were favorites. Favorites of ours was a parent's perspective discussion on navigating special needs. That is a program that a dad came to us and wanted to lead. And we actually had two fathers present, fathers of special needs children. So to me, that was our proof point of, okay, we have created this inclusive environment where dads are coming up to us about programming they want to do and that they want to lead. And it was probably one of the best events we've ever hosted. We also, I think our most popular event, and it was so popular, we were doing it every quarter before the pandemic, was infant child CPR and first aid. So this was so popular that we actually had to remove the certification part of it so that we could accommodate more people. It was 12 if we wanted to get you CPR certified, but people were like, I don't care if I'm certified, I just want to learn how to do it. So we partnered with the local fire department. They came in and did that, which was awesome. And then we did a summer camp expo. What your kids will do during the summer is very stressful. And we invited local partners across the region who hosted programming. They came, they presented, think of it like a job fair. We had a job fair, but for kids' activities in the summer, and parents could sign up on the spot, and it was great. But it was also awesome that was programming specifically for parents of slightly older children, right? So people so often think Mom Squad's only for like new parents, but we want to support parents of all ages. So we're trying to be more deliberate about programming to reach a variety of ages. Well, if you go to the next slide, Mom Squad really comes to life. We use Microsoft Teams at Dick's Sporting Goods. And so we have a Mom Squad Teams channel, and that is where our community really is engaging. It's often through chat. And I just pulled in some examples of conversations that have happened recently within our chat. We have one woman on our committee who tries to fuel conversation. So that's her job. She's trying to get people to engage. So if you see Marissa Harrington a lot, it's because that's her job in terms of her duties on Mom Squad. But we have had women who forgot pump parts, that we have a special nursing channel. So you may not want to broadcast to everyone in Mom Squad that you don't have your pump parts, but connecting with other moms who are nursing, like, you have this, or does someone have extra room in their fridge, whatever it is. To suggestions on pediatricians. We just started a holiday gift guide list by age of child. So just a lot of fun things that people really enjoy engaging with it and talking with each other. Go to the next slide, Paloma. I just pulled this together to share with this group lessons along the way and sort of what's on our minds right now as you're thinking about either starting or continuing to foster a group like ours. We talked about the being intentional with naming. So I think, that answer is probably different for every organization. Like I said, the number one piece of advice we got was not to include mom in the name. So it's definitely, I think we may be in the minority in terms of organizations who decided to retain it based on those that we talked to. Be really clear about the needs that you're trying to address, and think about whether you can reach all employees. So at Dick's Sporting Goods specifically, we have our corporate office, we have distribution centers, and then we have our stores. When we launched, there was a lot of conversation about, should you launch, because we shouldn't start anything that doesn't reach all of our employee base. But then as we started to dive into that, we found two things. One, the challenges that a corporate mom has is very different than the challenges a parent has who's working in our stores. And so trying to create something that serves all of them would be very difficult. So we made the decision largely based on the advice of Lauren to like walk before we run. Let's start something for the corporate office. See if this makes sense. See if we can really engage our employees. And now we're at the place where, we have some success here in the corporate office. We're really trying to survey to understand the needs within the DCs and the stores. And if there are needs identified, creating a solution that is part of Mom Squad, but specific to addressing their challenges. And it's also really crucial to have leaders who are part of those populations to lead it. So we have an awesome woman who is a store manager down south, who is like our Mom Squad of the field. And she's really working to get this run up and figure out how do we create this type of resource group for our store community. Also, it takes a lot of work. So that's something Paloma could probably speak to this, but it takes a lot of work to start a resource group. So we have found there are a lot of people are like, I want to do this, but then when it comes down to actually doing the work, and it's volunteering, right? So a lot of the time is over lunch hour. It is after working hours, and just having a realistic expectation on whether it's something someone or a team really is willing to invest to make it success. And senior leadership advocacy is crucial. So I really think that when Megan and I started Mom Squad, it was because we knew Lauren was 100% supportive of this, and our chairman was 100% supportive of this, and actually challenged us. He's like, I'm really sorry you guys have had some tough experiences, but if you have ideas on how to solve it, like, let's do it. And we were like, we have ideas. So, I think just given that latitude was so important. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been in bold in trying to do some of the things that we did and really amassing the support that we did across the company. Quickly, and then I'll shut up and turn it over to questions for our last 10 minutes. Things that are on our mind, we're now 2 years old, almost 3 years old. We've had women who've left the company who were used to be a part of our committee. Paloma's talked about, we've had co-chair sort of changes. So we're really thinking about succession planning and building our committee back up. And we're being attentional there again around representation. So like, we would like a dad on our committee. We have other opportunities we have just in terms of representation that we want to make sure we're mindful of in terms of the leadership of Mom Squad. We also, we had so much momentum heading into COVID, and then everything went virtual and all of our lives were disrupted. Like, I feel like we lost a little bit of our Mom Squad mojo. So we're trying to get that back, especially now that we're back in office again. So we're really being mindful about what that looks like. And then for so long, what we did was very controlled by our committee leading everything. And we want to start to empower our community and our membership base to also action, activate, plan, have ideas, and really make Mom Squad that much more far-reaching and impactful. So that's what we're working on. And that comes with letting go of control, which we've been, maybe that's a little bit of me, but, really letting Mom Squad be what the community needs and letting them take over some ownership, which is really exciting. I think that's what we had prepared. So with that, we can stop talking and hear if anyone has questions or thoughts.
Let me just start by saying, Melissa and Paloma, thank you so much. That was fantastic. If you can make sure we have a copy of the deck, if it's okay with you, I'll post it along with this recording. And if anybody has a question, if you could maybe just quickly introduce yourself and whether you're a mom, where you work real quick, and ask your question.
Hi, I am Tina Gardner from Ginsberg's Foods. I'm a mom of two, a 25-year-old and a 19-year-old. One is out on his own, the other is away at school. So I'm a little bit of an empty nester. Do have a question for you. Did you leverage your EAP program at all when you created Mom Squad?
Paloma, do you want to take that one?
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, so we definitely did. And I think when we were building out the library of resources, we did some work to understand what already existed. So EAP was absolutely one of those resources that was underutilized. Many women didn't know how to reach out to it. And we wanted to drive more participation of it. So it's definitely part of our resource library. We definitely work to drive women there and bring some awareness of what EAP is and how it can support. But I would say our resource library is also like I said, more tactical tips and tricks of, like Melissa said, traveling with a toddler and being prepared for a little bit of everything.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. I'm Roxanne Hansen. I'm actually from Samsung. Michelle Crossan invited me to this. I'm not actually a mom, but I do run our women's employee resource group at Samsung. So I'm here to, hopefully gather some information to help our moms. And so my question is, do you have like a women's employee resource group that this is kind of part of? And then also, just about that resource library, can you give us some more information about like what kind of stuff is in there? I know you mentioned a few things just there, but I think that's where we're having a hard time struggling, like what to put in a resource library, because there's just so many things.
I can start that, and then Melissa, do you want to take some more? So answering your question about a women's resource group, we are very privileged to have the Women Influential Network, which is our version of a women's resource group. And WIN and Mom Squad work wonderfully together. We have women who are part of both. We actually have women who are on the leadership committees of both. But they are distinctly different because they do serve slightly different, they have different purposes, right? However, I think, as a DEI leader, I would encourage you, if, you could totally build your Mom Squad as part of your women's leadership network. As long as you're creating a space for people to have those more intimate conversations about parenting and some of the challenges that come from that. I think you'll be wildly successful. And I would just say from a resource group, from the resources perspective, from my point of view, we allowed our committee to really lead that. So what was the stuff that you wish you knew when you were a new parent that that you want to tell somebody?
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Ritiliano Miletich. I'm also from Samsung. Thanks again. This is a great presentation. I am a mom of a 3-year-old. And my question for you is, when you were starting up, can you speak a little bit to the process of how you got funding for the Mom Squad and how your budget process works? Do you request an amount annually, and just the overall process? Because that's something that we struggle with, getting buy-in from leaders and actually putting a dollar amount for our employee resource group. So I'm curious how that process worked for you.
Maybe I can talk about when we started, and then Paloma, it probably makes sense for you to talk about the process now, because there was no process when we started. But I would say a lot of what we did didn't require money, except for the lactation room remodel and upgrade. But that was something that would have never existed, I think, within like an employee resource group budget. We worked with our facilities and our facilities team directly on that, and with the help of our head of HR, got the funding and approval. I think she actually may have funded it out of a bit of a kitty that she had, but that was definitely atypical. Where now we do have an annual budget that is managed by Paloma's day job team that supports our ERG. So Paloma, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, as Melissa said, what I do, when I build the DEI budget annually, I make sure that there is an allocation of funds to every single resource group. And, there's some assumption made of about how much money they're going to need. And then they can request to use that money based on things that are going to serve their committee, and they charge it to the cost center. So it's pretty simple, to be honest with you. We try to give them latitude to spend the money how they see fit, with some very minor boundaries of don't just spend the money to spend it smartly to serve your community. So, but each resource group really knows their community pretty well at Dix, so we trust them to spend the money wisely.
Thank you.
Yeah, we probably have time for one more.
Hi, I'm Danielle Sporkin. I work at OMD. It's an advertising agency, and I'm a mom to a 3-month-old. So mat leave and parental leave is something that's top of mind. I love how you talked about keeping mom in the name and the specific challenges that moms face. I'm just curious, has your group talked about maternity leave versus, parental leave or leave that's available to fathers, and how that's sort of looked at within your organization? Because I think one of the challenges that moms face is that maternity leave is sometimes different than other parental leaves, longer. The coverage is, maybe more difficult to find because of that period of time. And I'm just curious, the conversations that you've been having around that, is there a push to make it more equitable, or just curious what you've heard from your group?
Yes, I can take that one from more of an HR perspective. So in full transparency, we do split our leave into short-term disability and parental leave. So every parent, regardless of birth parent or not, is entitled to 2 weeks of parental leave upon the birth or adoption of their child, in addition to those 40 hours of time as they return into the workforce. Now, the 10 weeks that they get in addition to that is really based on whether or not you're a birthing person or not. So we do offer parental leave to everybody, but there is a distinct difference to an individual who's given birth. I would tell you, in keeping mom in the name as an inclusion professional, I'm actually very for keeping mom in the name, because there is a distinct identity and experience around a birthing person. And that's really what resource groups are there for, right? Creating space for others with similar and intersectional identities to come in and talk about their experiences and support, but recognizing that there is a distinct difference. So we have had some conversations about more or different parental leave that might happen in the future. But for right now, I think we're feeling pretty good about where our benefits stand, and some conversations that the Women's Influential Network are talking about are how we can, regardless of parental leave, how we can get our male counterparts and male partners specifically to really lean in to using those benefits and sort of reducing some of the stigma, so that women can continue to lean in and thrive and not carry the burden of care tasks. So that's a conversation that the WIN team is really trying to lean into.
Well, listen, we're out of time. This was terrific, fantastic. We will be, as I said, we have this recorded. We'll get a copy of the deck. If people have other questions, we'll put this up on a landing page. Maybe we can gather up additional questions and feed them, figure out a way of making this interactive. But again, Melissa, Paloma, thank you so much. I don't know if Lauren's joining us today, but thank her as well. And I hope everybody got some value out of that. And we will, women supporting women and men will continue on, moms supporting moms and grandmoms. And we just want to thank you very much again. And for those of you who are on the Mom Squad, thank you for joining. And we'll start our conversation and cocktails with another group on this same Zoom in 2 minutes.
Great program. Thank you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Take care.
Everyone.